Hey, everybody, welcome to Riders Meeting. I'm your host, David Pingree, joined by Bruce Marada, and a special guest today, Mr. RJ Hampshire, man, coming off the win in Phoenix. RJ, congrats, man.
Yeah, thank you. It was a tough day, but it ended up being awesome. You know how it ended, and the whole main event was actually pretty. I mean, I wouldn't say it was easy, but it came pretty easy once I got out front. Kind of had that little bit of a gap, which is how it is. It's always nice when you have a little bit of a breathing room.
Yeah, you didn't have much pressure, just kind of shut your mind off and put your laps in just like a typical practice day is what it looked like.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I had a big case there in the time qualifying early in the day, and man was hurting pretty bad, and you can kind of tell my heat race like that was ugly. So then yeah, main event just kind of put everything into it, and yeah, I got a decent start, and then yeah, once I got into the lead, I kind of knew something went on behind me, and had about like 4 or 5 second gap, and just kind of managed it from there, which is yeah, both my wins so far this season have kind of been about the same.
Yeah, nice way to get them. What was the what did you case?
So that double going across the start straight.
Uh-huh.
So first time qualifying, um, I went. I mean, I really wasn't. I felt like I wasn't even tough close to it, but there was a tough block off the face on the right side, and it
Oh.
caught like the back of my bike, so I lost all the drive. And dude, I came up. I mean, I've cased a lot of jumps. I came up so dang short, and
I saw that.
dude
Yeah.
took a shot straight off the chin. My jaw like was over. When you
Oh,
hit it really hard, like it almost
Uh,
like I mean it's not dislocated, but it moves your whole jaw. Um, so that my back and everything, and yeah, dude,
mm.
that was a heavy one. So yeah, after that,
So,
I'm
so,
not 20 years old anymore, so it hurts a bit more.
so RJ, was that like, so you were feeling that coming into like when the heat races started? Like, did that affect you for the night?
Oh yeah, big time. I mean, I still qualified that practice, like after I cased it, I still did another lap and I went P1 for that first
Yeah.
time qualifying. Well, then we had a couple hours before our next one. Um, and then dude, that last time qualifying, like I was like, all right. I mean, everything's kind of starting to hit me now. Like, yeah, I was definitely hurting. I wasn't fast in that heat or the second time qualifying, and then yeah, I mean, I'm sure you've seen the heat race. Like, it wasn't pretty. So it's just kind of like, all right, salvage what I can, and everything I have into that
Yeah.
main event.
Yeah.
it's nice when you're lining up for the main, that adrenaline will cover up an awful lot, won't it?
Yeah, exactly. And then Nate honestly kind of saved me because, like, dude, I was even stressing a bit after my heat race. I'm like, man, I've had the speed. I've kind of been the guy that can do it. And then that heat race was ugly, and Nate literally down there holding the can or not even on the gate yet before that, and he kind of got on me. He's like, hey, look, like you're the guy, like you're the fastest guy here. You know you can beat all these dudes, and yeah, I just had a kind of good talk, and then I was like, oh yeah, I better stop being a bitch here. Like I can figure this out for this main event. And yeah, I mean, sure enough,
That was
executed it
Ramsey
perfectly.
you're talking about?
Yeah, my team
Yeah.
manager.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Well, Nate knows how to get it done.
yeah, exactly. I mean, he said the right things at the right time right there, and kind of snapped me right back in. It's like, okay, look, you've been solid leading up to this. You have one case, like you ain't gonna let that ruin your whole day. And yeah, sure enough, we pulled it together when it counted.
Well,
That's
and
awesome, man.
RJ, yeah, and that's one thing that's always been about you is, I mean, I've seen you many times just riding through that pain, and you've been really good at always turning things around like that, you know? So,
Yeah, that's what it was almost like. It reminded me too much of my years past, like how much pain I was in, and I was like, all right, it's gonna be one of those nights where you kind of have to deal with kind of what the night gives you. And yeah, I mean, for to kind of get thrown, I wouldn't say get handed to me, but um, yeah, just executed the main really well. Like that's probably the best I rode all day. We made some kind of good changes leading up to that from the heat race on my bike. Because I felt like I was like searching like front wheel traction for a lot of it. Just for how that dirt is, like man, it's so hard pack and it's kind of choppy. Like even the ruts, all throughout the day. Like yeah, they kind of in the corners they were there, but they were super choppy. Like they weren't gonna grab you. Which yeah, like that messes up your front wheel feel or your front end feel. And then the rhythms though, and the transitions, like they built it super steep over the weekend, and it was ruddy in the bottom of those, but those were like a soft ruddy, so it would pull you one way, pull you the other. So it's kind of hard to really set your bike up. But for the main event, we just kind of softened some things up with my front, sped the rear up a little bit, and yeah, that was the best my bike was all day.
Hey, RJ, I have a question before we get into this for the night. That rhythm section, obviously, that thing was massive, super long. Did
both of them were long?
Yeah. How like, I don't know, like, getting into the race, could you see people almost forgetting kind of where they were at, like for timing?
I mean, like I like press day a lot, but whenever it
Mm-hmm.
comes to a race like this, and like you had those guys that rode press day, and they had that both rhythms pretty much down
Right.
from the first time they hit the track, which I mean that changes a lot. Like my first practice, even my first time practice, like you're still trying to learn the rhythms and where we're at. Like, dude, I was OJing everything.
That's yeah.
Yeah, because of how long the rhythms were, but also how they were built. Like, I feel like we had a very tame, first few rounds where, the 4-footers or whatever were maybe 2.5, 3, and they weren't near as steep. Well, this weekend, man, they built those rhythms. Like they were some tall boys and peaky. Like there wasn't much room for air, which definitely, I mean, yeah, it changes it up, especially when you had a mile long rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
But dude, honestly, I'll tell you the toughest part was that rhythm after the finish. You'd go left, you had the big triple, and then you would come so fast into that 3 on off. And then you went to a 3-3, but that 3-3, man, it was so peaky and steep. Like the transitions were really tight, so it was so hard to like, hit your marks. And I mean, you've seen a bunch of guys kind of go down there, or at least make mistakes.
Yeah, that was anytime you're carrying more speed into a rhythm, it gets much more difficult to time it because you either are blipping the throttle or coasting off of it. It's easier to time it when you're controlling the throttle, like accelerating at them, right?
Yeah. Like if it's tight out of a corner, like it's much easier to maybe triple in and then, do whatever throughout. But you're hitting a big triple, supercross triple, and then you're gaining more speed. Like I would off the
Shift
big supercross
fourth.
triple. No, I would shift to third, and then I
Okay.
would hit the face of the 3 on in third. I would shift back down to second just because of how tight that next transition was. And then I would hit that 3-3 in second gear. Which I mean that doesn't happen on a normal racetrack. Like you're
No.
not shifting down. Yeah,
And
shifting down on a rhythm.
one of them was like the takeoff was a little flatter because I kept seeing guys seat bounce, and I'm
Yeah,
thinking,
that
God,
was in
that's
the
the weirdest spot to seat bounce because you're going so fast.
yeah, exactly. That was in the opposite rhythm. So we were going like 3-3, and then you kind of turned a little bit, and then you had to seat a 3 to get over. I mean, it was different. Like it was cool. And then it was another tight transition 3 into the corner. But like,
Could you
man,
not stay standing there, RJ, and just like kind of go a little long with your front right into that next pocket and like transition
see,
right into that 3?
I maybe see. I think Anderson did it maybe once or twice throughout the day. But man, the risk to reward on that rhythm, like for how tall it was and how tight that next face was, it wasn't forgiving. Which is why I don't think anyone. I mean, even in the night show, like the main events, like dude, there was no one, standing that. I think especially after they seen Thrasher, how he because that was the jump right there. Like he just didn't get the lift off of that. And yeah,
I
mean,
think it's funny that like, not funny, kind of weird that felt so worried about not hurting guys that they've limited the number of whoops they're going to put in. They're building them with dozers, no more dragons backs, which I actually kind of agree with. But they'll make these mile-long rhythm lanes with super peaky jumps.
Yeah.
That seems odd to me.
Yeah. I mean, uh it's so weird, and I said it over the weekend. It was like, man, I spent 6 years of my life having nightmares over the whoops that they build on the weekends, like the races. Like, dude, I mean, for so long I was terrified of these things because of how big and steep they used to build them, and then now it's like, dude, the whoops aren't even like I personally I like dozer whoops, just because they're more round, but they don't even build them big right now. Like they're so small and round, which I mean, yeah, it's a different type of difficult. Like yeah, you're still going to get a bit sketchy, but I feel like everybody can just kind of send it through those things. Like I get the
Yeah,
safety side of it also, but it's like,
But that can
no,
almost
like,
that can almost be more sketchier because then anyone could just go even
well,
faster through them, and
yeah, that's the thing is, yeah, I mean, you can say it's for the safety side, but I personally think it's for the racing side. Like they want closer racing.
hmm
And I mean, yeah, you're not going to have much separation whenever you can literally wheelie three in and hop around and still get out of that thing, safe.
yeah. Hey, well, let's get into this here. We've been bench racing about your night and the track itself, but let's get into the main event here. It's brought to you by Rock and Turf. Rock and Turf, check them out on Instagram. Awesome artificial grass, hardscape, anything you guys need. Great company. Also, this show is sponsored by Maxxis, maxxis.com. Check out their full line of light duty truck tires. So Sprinter, Jeeps, trucks, whatever you got, they make rad stuff. The main event, man, let's talk about a couple of things. And I guess one, we should mention Thrasher's get off. Like you kind of talked about how it happened. Man, a dirty get off. And I think he actually got lucky because dude got
Yeah.
ragdolled. And I think he, says he got some bone bruising and a little concussion, but he could be out for a while if that thing would have just gone any different. It was ugly.
Yeah. Yeah. How it threw him, he got super lucky. And there's pros and cons to how they build these tracks, like in the middle of the rhythms. They don't pack those in, so they're super soft. So if you jump off and you're landing on the side of one of the jumps, like you're almost coming to a complete stop. And
mm,
that's where he landed, was on in the middle. So he definitely had some cushion. Like if he would have landed on the track,
Oh,
for how hard packed that was, yeah, it would have been ugly. But yeah, luckily, I mean, I like just seen his posted stuff also where I think he's good. The main reason they red flagged that one is from just him being in that position where they couldn't really get to him.
yeah, right. Well,
yeah.
imagine if he'd got flung off the same way, but to the right and landed on concrete.
Oh yeah,
Mm,
that's what
That
I'm
boy
yeah.
saying. I
would
mean, dude,
still be in the hospital.
yeah, yeah. Even the track though, in some of those areas, like it was just as hard as that concrete.
Yeah, yeah,
hmm
that's a good point. We'll talk a little bit about the main event, RJ. You know, you kind of early point of the race, and then when you got into the lead, how did your mindset shift there?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to kind of just think about the years past and being, you know, having a mindset of I'm gonna win every second of every race. Um, and that's just kind of not where I'm at right now. It's like, look, I'm gonna take it as it comes to me. I'm not gonna try to overdo it too early. If I have opportunity late, then I'm gonna go for it. So yeah, I was in a perfect position off the start, right behind the two guys that I needed to beat. Uh, and yeah, the team talked to me before, like, hey, look, put some pressure on these guys and see what's going to happen and be there at the end if you need to. So yeah, I just had a little bit of pressure on them. They started making mistakes. Smitty almost had a big one.
Yeah.
Whenever he first went into the lead, in that rhythm we were talking about, where you go 3 on, off, 3-3, it grabbed him and shot him right, landed on the tough blocks. I don't know if they really showed it much on TV, but that was early. I'd say that was lap 2. So whenever he first went to the lead, he did that, and I watched the whole thing. So I'm kind of just sitting back watching it. And then, yeah, of course, I seen the other mistakes they were making. So yeah, I was just kind of like, all right, let this play out. I actually had a pretty good pass on um, Levi. I'd say maybe a couple laps later, and then yeah, Jordan kind of handed it over to me and literally was like, okay, I'm in the perfect spot now. I was worried about myself, click these laps off. And yeah, I just seen the gap kind of grow within a couple laps. And yeah, it's always nice to be able to manage it whenever you have the speed if you need it, but you don't necessarily want to kind of go into that risk, especially for how the track was. I mean, it was tough in a
Slick.
lot of areas. Yeah, super slick. Like, dude, you're getting so much wheel spin before the triples, like the big triples.
Yeah, you could hear it. The cameras that set up, that one where you kind of went underneath the stadium a little bit there, and you come out, you'd see the back end slide a little bit to the right, and then catch, and you hear it go, "Yeah," like you kind of hear the motor change.
Yep. Yeah, it was
Um,
both of those. Both of the triples were the same.
yeah, it's crazy. I want to ask you about the incident between Kitchen and Smith because I mean, it was a bummer, but it was definitely the kind of a pivotal point in that race that kind of opened up some space for you, took Smith out of the battle between he and Kitchen. So Levi, in my mind, kind of did the right thing. You see that red cross flag, you don't want to go all the way on because it's going to be hard to then stop and not jump, right? So he goes to just that first level and starts rolling. Smith doesn't see it, which again, the way the angle of the thing was, and RJ maybe speak to it better being on the bike, but I totally would get it if he just didn't see it and jumped up and then was like, oh crap, there's not room for both of us here. Luckily, barely clipped Kitchen and went down himself. But what'd you think of
Yeah.
that whole thing? Did you watch it back?
Yeah, but I think it was a lot more to do with the mistakes Jordan was already making. So then it puts him in a situation where he's kind of panicking, and maybe trying to rush that, where he maybe should have just followed, behind, because he was definitely trying to go for a pass. Like, I'm pretty sure he kind of went for it in the corner before. But yeah, just kind of where that where Ryder was down at. It was in one of the transitions, and in the transitions there was those ruts where it would just shoot you and you really didn't know where to go. So I mean, I get the whole, maybe Levi checking up just for that, situation. And yeah, maybe I don't think Jordan, possibly he didn't see what was going on ahead. Levi seen the whole thing, but I just don't think Jordan had his, he was looking a few jumps ahead, and yeah, sure enough, right into the back of him. And he got lucky also. Like, that could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, I agree. And I actually, for him to come back to fourth from the incidents he had, hell of a ride on his part, actually, just to get fourth and keep himself in this title fight. Levi Kitchen doing kind of what he's been doing all year, really, just solid and steady. Nothing super crazy. He's shown a lot of speed at times. He ran up on you that second main at the Triple Crown, I think it was at Anaheim, where he got right to you at the finish. So he's definitely fast, but he's been just very patient and letting things come to him. So I'm curious how, RJ, now you're going to have some time to kind of think about this. And, you've got Jordan and yourself, who probably, I don't know, maybe on paper have a little bit better speed than Levi. He's just been very steady and consistent. And I think he's kind of saying, you know what, I'm going to let these two make mistakes or see if they do. I'll just be steady. What are your thoughts here as you come into these handful of last rounds? The points are super tight. It might as well be scratch. You know what I mean? The winners, you guys are just gonna have to go win.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on all that?
Well, it seems like to me, like I felt like Levi could have been the guy yesterday. He could have gone the fastest, like he did in one of the practices, I believe. But even like the heat race, like whole shotted, led every single lap. So man, I was honestly kind of surprised whenever I made that pass on him, pretty easy in that main event. And then we kind of gapped him a bit. I just think he struggles finding that pace early. And I even talked to him after the race, and he's like, man, like I'm not comfortable enough being up front right now. Like, whenever I'm up front and I've got you guys right on me, like, it's so tough to, focus on myself in the head. And it's like I said, as soon as you get that, 4 or 5 second gap, like, you can manage it and be fine. Which if he has that, he possibly could have won last night. Like, that's just kind of how it was. And the speed with kind of all three of us we're pretty dang close.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think if, I just don't know if he's able to adapt really to kind of the new tracks, like how they prep it. I'd say for that main event, like, and finding those lines fast. Because once he finds them, like, man, he was solid once he got to the, that gap that I had. He was really good. It was just those opening laps where he struggled, and we both got around him. And honestly, that's what happened at Anaheim 1 also when I won. I made the pass on him, I believe, first lap, and then it took him a while to get going. And then I think he ended up third that night, but he passed back into third. Like, he was going backwards in the beginning.
Right.
Of the moto.
Right. Yep. He got Volan back. And yeah, you're right. He came back. That's interesting. So it'll be fun to watch you three kind of see who can figure it out in these last handful of rounds. And it is tough. You talk about leading with someone right on you. It is so hard. Like, if a guy gets a lead, like Kenny did in the 450 race, you can kind of just, like I said, you mark the guy that's behind you, put your laps in just like it's a test track day, no big deal. But when someone's right on you and you have to think exactly. Every single corner defensively, like, okay, can he get inside of me? Do I hear him? What side of the track's he on? Like, man, it is a mental fight to stay focused on what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. And then you look at my San Diego round when I whole shotted, and yeah, it makes it a lot different whenever it's muddy. But dude, I was leading, doing rhythms that guys I was lapping were doing, as the dudes behind me were still tripling and jumping like it was a dry track, and I had no idea.
All right.
Yeah,
Like,
I
yeah,
pointed that out, RJ. I noticed that because I don't think you knew they were jumping that, right?
yeah, I had no idea. I mean, dude,
Yeah,
I don't want to hit that. Like, dude, you know how
yeah,
slick and sketchy that, dude. I cased the triple when it was dry in the beginning of the day, and these
yeah,
guys, you talk about wheel spin, dude. San
yeah.
Diego, you started spinning from when you
Uh,
landed off that rhythm. You hit the left, and then you spun all the way off the face. Like, it was just luck of the
so
draw if it was
sketchy.
going to hook
Yeah.
up or not.
Well,
But yeah,
and you
that's
don't want to be
disappointing.
that guy who's leading and tries some big jump, and you're like, well, I don't know, I just thought I could do it, and you eat
Yeah,
crap, and
yeah, exactly. I mean, and then I think
Yeah.
back to New Jersey last year with Anstey. Like, dude, the only reason we jumped everything in that main event whenever it was super muddy is because Anstey hole shotted, and I was right there with him, and he jumped everything first lap like it was perfectly fine, dry still, and like it's
Mm.
just crazy that if I wouldn't have seen that, there was no way I was doing that. And yeah, if I would have hole shotted or like a hole shot at San Diego, that that cost me the win that night. I feel like, I mean, because I had no idea. I was out there going double single, and these dudes were jumping over my head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Hey, so
go ahead.
moving forward here, I want to move this along so we don't hang you up for too long, RJ. Joe
Yeah,
Shimoda with a third, and his season's been terrible. I mean, let's just be honest. I'm sure he's super disappointed. He's riding great when he's in the mix with you guys, but just starts and crashes and all kinds of stuff. So a good step in the right direction for him. You ever had a season like that, RJ, where just man, you felt good even coming in and it just goes sideways?
yeah, I do, and I know where Joe's kind of at right now. And there's going to be the media, of course, thinking, yeah, he made the wrong call to go,
Mm-hmm.
HRC after he was unreal that outdoor season on that PC bike. But also, like, I know how it's going to be. He's going to adapt, and they're going to figure some things out. Like, that team's solid. Also, like, they're going to do whatever they can to get him comfortable.
Yeah.
I think it's just taking a little bit longer than what they would have liked. But yeah, you're going to see Joe up there battling with us three. Also, like, that's not just going to be, that like he's got the speed. I don't think his start was too bad over the weekend. But we also just had that gap. Like we talk about, you get that gap, and it's hard to
Yeah,
make
it's
Yeah.
that
hard
up.
to. Yeah,
Yeah, we just manage it. Like I seen Levi and I seen Joe like right away. She like came out, got into the lead, and it was just like, okay, like I know what I got to do to, finish this thing off, and that's kind of the same way Levi was, and Joe's, of course, then like he's the charger trying to get us, but it's very easy to kind of gauge that.
Yeah,
yeah,
and I
and
think Joe could work up and be one of the guys getting in that mix, stealing some points from somebody. So he's fast enough to become a factor in the points chase.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, big time. And I mean Thrasher now too. Also, like once he gets back going, same
Mm-hmm.
thing. Like it's not just gonna be us three on the weekends. I mean, I wish we probably could have had a couple more guys over the weekend because I don't think Smitty still gets a fourth if we had a couple guys up there with us.
Right.
Which then of
right.
course points changes. But it's also nice that if one weekend I have an off weekend or a crash or whatever, like at least I know I can still kind of get back up to get a good
Mm-hmm.
points.
Yeah. Garrett Marchbanks came back to fifth from being way back. It was a great ride for him and that Club MX Yamaha team. Oldenburg was sixth, Beaumaire seventh. Man, I feel like I got catfished a little bit on Beaumaire. He was so good at A1. I thought this kid is like legit. He's going to be up near the front. And we just have, I mean, the mud's understandable, but we haven't seen it at these dry tracks either.
Yeah, I rode with him a bit before the season started, and I knew he was riding well. Um, Honestly, though, you look at Anaheim 1, and he's in B practice, which goes out before us, tracks much faster than where we are. So he starts the day off with a lot of confidence. I'm pretty sure he was P2 in qualifying, which, yeah, you start the day with a lot of confidence like that. You're riding a high horse. Then, he gets put in the A group, and kind of reality sets in a little bit where it's like, okay, these guys. These guys are still pretty gnarly. But no, I do think he'll be solid. Like, he's a really good starter.
Yeah.
We're on a very similar package, so I know he's got an awesome bike. But yeah, I mean, he's still young, super young, and he's a really good supercross rider. And I think him and Davey working together, Millsaps,
Yeah,
is awesome. Like, dude, Millsaps works with him. He's hard on him too, so it's not just like he's getting by.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that kid's going to be a legit player here in a year or two. So he's
Oh yeah.
still doing great. I just after that opening round, I was like, man, this kid might be something really up front right away. Phil Nicoletti with 8th, great ride for him. I want to give a shout out to Robbie Wageman too in 9th. I think that's maybe his best finish ever, and he was as high as 6th, I think, at one point. So really good ride for him. We've seen him in Arena Cross and up on the podiums doing really well. So he's been riding great. And Hunter Yoder, 10th, awesome ride for him. A couple of the notes I have overall here, and I'll let you guys chime in with your thoughts. I thought it was a great of Smith to like recoup from those couple of mistakes he made and still get to 4th, keep himself in it. And man, the points are tightened up. Levi Kitchen leading now with 106. Smith 4 points back. RJ, you're 5 points back. And Marchbanks is 19 back. He's still a little ways, but that, man, it's really throw a blanket over you top 3. This is still wide open.
Yeah, no, for sure. Bruce can also talk about it. Like, I mean, it can change so much, and those East-West shootouts. Those East-West shootouts are going to be pivotal. Like, because like Smitty had that last night where, he makes all those mistakes and still gets a 4th. Well, he makes all those mistakes in that East-West rounds. He is getting 4th. He's maybe a 10th or 12th. Like, that's just the difference. And those, Nashville and Salt Lake are definitely going to have a big asterisk next to it. Like, you got to perform at those rounds to, pull this thing off.
Yeah.
That's very true. I remember Minneapolis used to be the opener for the West back in the 90s. Dating myself here, but we'd show up and I was racing against Wyndham. Well, on the West, we show up, you got Pichon, you got, Ferry, Dowd, you got all these guys who are legit from the East. And Kevin won. I ended up getting 4th. And man, that's a big point swing, rather than being 3 back. Now I'm, you're talking about 5, 6, 7 points all of a sudden. So yeah, they have a huge impact on the championship chases.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, dude, we still have Seattle Open Stadium, Nashville Open Stadium, Salt Lake. So, well, I mean, there's definitely a lot more that can play into this thing.
Hey, I didn't think about that. You're right. Jeez.
I mean, but you've got some good luck though coming into these next rounds. Though you've done pretty well at these places. So
that's what I'm saying. Like, dude, St. Louis, the best dirt in the entire world, and then won their first win, and then Denver also. Dude, another Denver outdoor stadium. So, I mean, I'm not hoping that we get a mud one, but there's a possibility we do.
Well, go practice in the rain out there, I guess is what you're trying to say. Hey, let's look real quick here at the this 450 main event brought to you by Maxxis Tires. So Roxon and Plessinger win their heats, which was interesting to see both of those guys get off 1 and 2 in the main. And for me, kind of the what we call that Maxxis moment of the night in that main event was AP going down, because if you paid attention, like those two were already starting to gap the field. I feel like for whatever reason, those two were on all night. And when AP slid out, Roxon already had a pretty good cushion, and he did exactly what you were talking about, RJ. Just started clicking off laps, no mistakes, and came, air quotes, came easy to him, right?
Yeah, I mean, and dude, I'm so stoked for AP because of how well he's riding right now.
Heck yeah.
And just I mean, even just the last couple of years, like, dude, there was plenty of days where, I mean, dude, I'm smoking him on the 250. Even, dude, before he got on the factory edition frame, like, I mean, dude, there wasn't many days where he was faster than me. Like, dude, I was still smoking him. So then, just to see the whole change come around and how well he's doing on dry tracks. Because everybody wants to say he's a mud rider, but dude, he was unreal. Like the last 2 weekends, the heat races is the best I've ever seen him ride. I think he definitely would have had something for Kenny in that main event.
That's what I'm saying. I think it was pivotal because AP wasn't going to just let him go have it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
And AP's fit too. Like he isn't going to get tired. Like he can run that speed. And dude, like, I don't know. You guys weren't there. Like, man, the crowd and the fans
you can hear it
right
on
now,
TV.
Dude.
You can hear it on TV,
and that definitely plays a role also.
Yeah.
The fans were loud. They also booed Jet again, which I thought was interesting. I didn't know if that was going to be just local here, but man, it carried over into into Arizona.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. This the public. They like to take things and run with it. So just
Don't
kind of have to
slip
deal
up.
with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, RJ, it's got to make you nervous a little bit because you're like, man, I do one thing they don't like, I'm going to start getting booed. Doesn't take
Yeah,
much.
but yeah, they forget about it fast. So if you start winning, I mean, Jet, Jet wins. Was it Anaheim too? Or no, Detroit, right? I think he won Detroit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But dude, Anaheim too. The boos there were
Yeah, it was
unbelievable.
bad. It was
Yeah,
bad.
and then I'm sure it was much better. I mean, I was just here in Arizona also, and it was much better there than what it was in A2. So
Yeah.
I think give it a couple more weeks and it'll die down.
All right, so let's look a little deeper into the field here, guys. Anderson getting second. I thought it was a solid ride for him. I was maybe a little surprised to see him not push up at Roxon more. I know Kenny was riding great, but I feel like Anderson's really been on fire lately, and almost expected him to come up and fight for that win.
Yeah. Yeah. But it kind of goes back to also Ping what RJ was saying too. I think he had that good gap where he was able to really manage that race, um, not let him get too close to him. So
Yeah, and I'll say also, like I was saying, how the track was, like it wasn't forgiving. Like if you had to be on point and to try to go faster, it could possibly go into a mistake or, I mean, dude, like I said, it was slick as hell out there. So
Yeah, so it was a little hard to really push. Like you had to kind of be careful where you were aggressive because it's hard to go track someone down and try to ratchet up your intensity when the track won't let you.
yeah, exactly, and that's kind of how the track raced all day. It was like it looked sweet, long rhythms, everything, but there's really only one speed you could go, and they were really close.
Yeah, I again, I didn't love the track kind of from my perspective because I don't think it made for good racing. I mean, if you look at where everybody started outside of crashes, there wasn't a ton of passing,
yeah.
It wasn't a good track for racing.
No, yeah, I agree.
Jet put on a good ride. I will say he was one of the guys that moved through 3 or 4 guys anyway and got his way into third. Good ride for him, and he's sneakily just adding points to his lead. And I feel like these guys better be careful because kind of what we worried about happening early on before the season started, Bruce, was he starts getting some wins and reeling them off or just solid finishes while those other guys keep shuffling around. And he's already got a 6-point lead.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think like you said, he's definitely being sneaky about being able to manage his points lead and, and to get some points. But man, there was a couple scary moments last night. Did you see him case that triple before you got,
Twice.
Before that? Yeah. Like bad. And that was pretty scary. And I know there was, a couple points, where, I can't remember who it was. I think it might've been, Webb kind of came into him pretty hot. And that's like what Reed was talking about. Yeah. And Chad was talking about that too, where, I think that's kind of what's throwing him off pace a little bit is these guys showing him that front wheel, So, but yeah, at the end of the night, he ends up finding a way to still get on that box and get good points. So, yeah.
What were your thoughts, RJ, on his ride?
I mean, dude, yeah, it's solid. The guy can pretty much go as fast as what he needs to. And those guys aren't easy to pass that he was passing.
No.
And for how that track was, I'd say it's pretty solid.
I thought it was super weird to see him keep coming up short on that triple. Do you think he was spinning? Was he wheel spinning?
For sure. Yeah, that's for sure what was happening. And if you tried to get out of that main line, like you were trying to gauge if you were going to get traction or not. So I'm sure he just thought he was going to get it and he didn't. And way short.
Way short. Yeah.
I feel like his brother Hunter put on a really good ride. Like he kept him, he kept right there with him for a little bit. So
career best 5th overall, dude. Like look at the guys he beat: Ferrandis, Webb, Stewart, Sexton, AP. Great ride. And did you notice this? First of all, he let Jet, I don't want to say let him go by, but Jet was in a position in that berm where if it was anyone else, I promise you, Hunter.
Oh, he would have cleaned him out.
He'd have wrecked him.
Yeah.
But he let his brother go by, and then when he passed somebody else in front of him, gosh, who the heck did he pass? Maybe it was Webb, but he moved him out of the way just enough that Hunter also got him. Did you guys catch that? I thought it
Yep.
was interesting the way he held him. He didn't take him out, but he held him in that berm and slowed like where Webb just had to kind of sit there and wait. And by the time he turned back down and got into those whoops right there, Hunter had already turned around the inside and was following him through. I don't know if it was intentional, but it looked like those guys were working as a team, which was
Pretty cool.
interesting. Kind of cool, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's I feel like that move that Hunter did to Jet and like kind of let him go, changed his whole main event. Like if he tries to race him hard or whatever and Jet doesn't get around him, well, he doesn't find that speed or the lines that Jet's taking. So he's not able to do those lines and hold that pace that they had.
Yeah, that's an awesome point. What do you guys think of Tomac? Really weird ride last week. There was so much chatter that his shock messed up or something. Star Yamaha assures me that's not the case. He just said he had some arm pump, had the wrong setup or whatever. And it was really sticky, soft in Detroit, like maybe different than what they were expecting. But a good comeback ride for him, I would say. Still, this isn't vintage Eli Tomac, but better.
Yeah, I think he gets going a little bit also. Gets a weekend off. I mean, yeah, get to Daytona. That's almost like a for sure for him. I feel like if they can beat him there, then that might kind of solidify. Okay, maybe it's not the same Tomac we've seen in the years past. But I definitely still think has a speed to knock a few wins off or at least a couple and get back in it.
Yeah.
What do you think, Bruce? He's 17 points down right now, which is like
it's quite a bit. But I mean, the way I see this whole 450 season going, I mean, anything can happen. You know, I mean, Roxon pulled off a win last night. You know, I still don't want to count Tomac out. You know, maybe this little break they'll start figuring some stuff out. And like RJ said, I mean, going back to the East Coast dirt, you know, I feel it's softer, gets a little bit more ruddier. He's always been great at Daytona, so I wouldn't count Tomac out yet. So
yeah, historically, he always picks it up this time of year and finishes the season really strong anyway.
Yeah,
and we've got a weekend off, so if he's got any issues or bike setup problems, I feel like it's the perfect time for them to get that sorted out and him come out swinging. But RJ, is it at 17 points down? When does he need to start going, okay, like time to start, not panicking, but as Ricky would say, a must situation, whatever the hell that means.
I mean, I would still give it. Hold on, sorry. I mean, I don't think it's like he's out of it by no means. Like you said, like there's so many guys that can still be up there. So he can go from first to he can win one weekend and then be eighth the next. It's the same with those guys. Like I mean, Jet easily could have gotten fifth or sixth last night, and that's a huge kind of point swing. But yeah, like I said, give him to Daytona. I don't know. It's probably 3 more rounds. See where he's at then, and then kind of I mean, revisit that.
All right, let's run through the rest of the field real quick here. Ferrandison 6th on that Phoenix Racing Factory Connection Honda. Another solid ride for him. We haven't seen anything that's like lighting the world on fire. I feel like we haven't seen Dylan up in a podium spot yet, and I feel like he's capable of it. Just haven't seen it. Webb 7th. Not a good night for him, but it's funny on the broadcast they said his average finish in Glendale is 7th. So he's right on brand for being out in the desert there. I think he's another guy that pours the coals on starting at our next round and through the rest of the year because he picks it up late. Stewart 8th, decent ride for him. Sexton 9th. He was dealing with a hand injury apparently. It just sounds like he was milking it through this one to just have that time off to get healthy.
Yeah, I can comment on that one. I was there for this week, like the practice week, and he showed up Thursday, and the dude couldn't even do a lap.
Wow.
Like he legit could not ride a lap. Hit a double, arm came off. So I was like, yeah, there's no way he's racing this weekend. Like there's no way. So for him to go out there and do what he did, I mean, dude, I was impressed. Very impressed with that.
Wow.
What did he say he did to it? What was the actual injury? No bones are broken, right? Just a contusion?
I don't know all of that. I just know it's something with his left, arm, and he just doesn't have strength in it.
Okay.
So yeah,
Wow.
for him to do what he did was impressive.
Wow. Well, that's good that they're coming into this break then for him, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, definitely.
Great timing for him. Yeah, he is down. He's in third. Second, 6 points down in the title chase. So still perfectly fine. Just needs to use this week to get healthy. And then AP finished 10th, which was a great comeback for him. He got stuck in that berm. Man, there's nothing worse when you go down early and you either roll off the track and you got to literally wait for the whole field to go by, or in his case, he's just holding the bike there as everyone goes past, because if he tries to spin it around, he's going to hit somebody.
yeah.
Good comeback for him, though, huh?
Yeah, it was really good.
All right. Well, let's have a quick look at the points here. So Jets at 117. Chase is sitting second at 6 points down. AP is third and 9 points down. Webb's 10 points down. Anderson's 11 points down. So those top five are like, it's just negligible at this point. Then you've got Roxon 15 down, Tomac 17 down. So all of those guys, 7 of them, certainly still capable of winning this title. So that's awesome for us, man. And I still say that AP's crash was the most pivotal moment. We talk about the Max's moment of the night. Going down early and taking the pressure off Kenny, it totally changed his race. And again, mixes the points up because AP drops back a bit. So hell of a night. I'm actually looking forward to, well, a weekend off, but I'm looking forward to see how the series kind of reshapes as we move forward when we come back in Texas.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm excited for it.
It's 250 class. Once the East Coast comes back around too, that'll be exciting. There's still so many question marks in that one.
And RJ,
well,
you get to be, get to be a fan too now for the next 6 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Get to hang out.
You know what one of those question marks isn't?
What's that?
How big are McAdoo's plums? We all know.
No,
everybody
no
knows.
kidding. yeah.
Oh,
man. All right.
Funny.
Well, hey, what are you gonna do over the break?
I'm gonna ride the 450 for a bit. Gonna spend some time on it. We're not gonna go racing, I don't think, on it, but we're gonna spend some time, get some comfort on it, and just hang out with the kids.
Any chance we'll see you on that 450 in the summer?
No, not the summer.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just trying to. I'm signed for 250 another year, also. But we'll see how it's going. I mean, if I win a championship, you never know. But yeah, I'll do what the bosses tell me to do. And right now, I feel like if I can spend some time on it and learn a bit and maybe help them out, it'll kind of add some value.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, thank you so much for taking the time out of your Sunday. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks a lot, RJ.
Yep. Enjoy the time with your kids on this little break, and we'll catch up with you real soon.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. See ya.
You got it, folks. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. And we will be back every Thursday with Sight Lap. We've got a special guest, Pierce Brown, joining us for that one. A huge thank you to RJ Hampshire for joining us today. Also want to wish the best out to Nate Thrasher, and also Ryder DeFrancisco, who took a beating too. Sounds like he's going to be all right, but I want to wish the best for those guys. And thanks for tuning in, Bruce. Appreciate it, brother. We'll catch up with you soon, and have a look at Dallas. We get into AT&T Stadium in a couple weeks. That's going to be obviously coming out next Thursday, folks. So don't look for anything this week. And we'll see you then. Thanks for tuning in. And also, lastly, I should also thank our sponsors one more time, Rock and Turf and Max's Tires. If you guys have any needs for hardscape, artificial grass, the mats that they're making, which are super rad, check them out. Also, Max's Tires, light duty truck tires, awesome stuff. So thanks to those guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon.